You're listening to ESOPOD, the Foliance ESOP podcast. It's already October. It's actually already the end of October, which is kind of crazy. One of my favorite quotes is, the years start coming and they don't stop coming, from Smash Mouth.
That's the truth.
Yeah. And October is Employee Ownership Month, as we both know. How's it going this month? How do you feel like it's been going?
Well, it's been a lot of fun. The participation's been great. All of the trivia games we've sent out, the Family Feud game, we've had great participation. Actually, we've got more slogans that have been turned in this year than ever. We set a record this year, and it still goes to the end of today. So we'll see, but it's looking really, really good for participation, and people are getting the answers right to the trivia questions, which is
That's
great
always
to hear.
good, yeah.
And, and for those that get them wrong, it's quite all right. We will send out the right answers and explain why things are, and hopefully answer all those questions that people have.
So related to questions and trivia, I've been meaning to get you on here for a while to do kind of a introduction to what ESOPs are. Sort of, what does an employee first encounter when they hear ESOP, and what are they taught?
Yeah, I think for most employees, when they're coming on new, they've never heard of ESOP. That's what we always hear. They don't know anything about it, so they're anxious to learn what it means. But we try to explain is that it affects our culture, it affects the way we work together, and because we are employee owned, all employees have a kind of an equal voice, and we encourage everyone to share ideas and to help each other and to really be as efficient and put out the very best products and be really good hosts to our customers and treat them well, because we want them coming back for more. We want them talking about our company. And, in the end, it puts more money in our pockets at the end of every year. It goes in, and not directly into our pocket, it goes into our ESOP account. But we're hoping to each have a great retirement when we leave from our company.
It goes into your future pockets, which is almost even better.
Future pockets.
Yeah. So you have an actual presentation that you sit down, or someone at various business units sits down with like a new group of employees every few months and goes over this kind of PowerPoint.
Yeah, the goal would be to introduce this when someone reaches about the 6-month mark with the company. That's when they get their necessary 1,000 hours and they become part of the ESOP, where they can start earning the allocations. So that's really the best time for us to introduce it. And then, in a couple of years, they can always come back and take the ESOP 101 training once again. If we do it right at the very, very beginning when they're first getting here, I think there's just too much to learn. They're getting orientated into their new position. They're learning people's names, or learning procedures. And I think that's just a little bit too overwhelming to throw ESOP on top of all of that. So let people get comfortable in what they're doing and their jobs, and then we'll start working on the training when they get to about 6 months.
Great. Do you know how long we've been doing this like formal kind of training? And I know when I started, there wasn't anything like that.
Yeah, no, there wasn't any when I started either. I believe we started the ESOP 101 right around 2017 is when I think we first introduced it. And it hasn't really changed, over the years. I mean, sometimes the data gets updated, but everybody who had the training in 2017, 2018, if they came to another class, they would pretty much hear all of the same information. So it's been very, very consistent.
Hearing the same information over and over doesn't necessarily mean that you retain all of that information. So I feel like, or you might forget, you have a job to do outside of just ESOP. So I think it's still a very useful thing to have, and have people even do or hear again and again through the years.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that repetition and just helps to ingrain it into, your memory. And sometimes, you'll hear other people talking and they don't quite have it right. And so something they say may, enter into your head. Then you're thinking, oh, wait a minute, I thought it was this one. Maybe they're right. So yeah, we like to make sure there's plenty of repetition. And of course, in October, we just kind of go over all those same questions and try and answer all of those same things, as part of our education, just so everyone has the same information and hears it the
Yeah,
same
no,
way.
that's great. So we have that presentation, and you're going to go through it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And this will be kind of an abbreviated. I'll go a little faster than I would if I was in the actual business units waiting or meeting with employees. But yep, I will share. All right. So here we go. We are all Folians, whether you work at Lifeline or Cimarron or the Gazette or Shared Services. We're all part of the Folians, which is the holding company for our ESOP. And as employee owners, we all have the license to act. It's a small little driver's license size card. Hopefully, everyone has been issued one of those and can keep it with them on their person. But you don't really have to have it on you to, offer ideas. It's symbolic, and it just means we all have a voice and we all have the license to share ideas and to help each other and to try something new. So this is what gives us our voice in the company. So these are the types of things we'll cover today. And oh, there, nice job, Sean. You've got your
Yeah,
license
now
stat
mine's a little
card.
dirty, but I still have it with me. It gets
Yeah,
used.
mine's in my wallet, up in my wallet upstairs. Yeah, I always have mine with me. So the types of things we'll cover today, and this was what I would do if I was at any of the business units, talk about all the companies in our ESOP family, what an ESOP is, when do you become eligible, earning shares, how does it grow, how do you act like an owner, uh, talk about when you get your money and living the dream, and then our ESOP communication team. So these are the companies that make up um, our whole ESOP. So upper left-hand corner, Cimarron Trailers, they have two locations. One is in Chickasha, Oklahoma, and the other one's in Manhattan, Kansas. Combined, I believe they're slightly over 210 employees or so. So employee owners at those locations, the majority are in Chickasha. That's 160 or 170, and then in Manhattan, Kansas, it's about 45. Upper right hand corner is Lifeline Emergency Vehicles up in Sumner, Iowa. They make the custom uh, ambulances that are kind of the supreme Cadillacs of all ambulances. They're pretty amazing, as is the Cimarron Trailers. They kind of set the standard for other companies to achieve, or set the bar, I should say, to achieve, and I'm not sure anyone else does. But Lifeline has definitely grown since they became part of Folians, and I should have looked up the numbers before I started here today, but I feel like they're right around 200 employees as well, maybe a few more than that because they've added some folks on a night shift. Bottom left hand corner, the Gazette, that's our legacy company. That company actually started in 1883. First, their first issue was January of 1883, so uh, very, very old company. We're at 142 years, I believe, at this point. There are somewhere in the upper 90s employee owners that work for the Gazette. And then in the bottom right hand corner, Southeast Iowa Union. It's a bunch of smaller newspapers down in southern and central Iowa, including the Washington um, newspaper. I can't think what the whole title is there. Journal? No.
Washington Evening
There's
Journal.
the Fairfield.
But
I'm going to get it wrong. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, I should have had that in front of me as well. But Fairfield, Mount Pleasant, yeah, and then there's just a bunch of smaller papers down there, and it's not a huge number of employees. There's somewhere between 15 and 20 employees that take care of all of those newspapers. And then in the center there is shared services, and that's what I'm part of and what you're part of. Shared services is everything from payroll to benefits to safety to IT tech to, well, you name it, Sean. You're part of it. What did I miss?
Yeah, no, it's really HR, accounting, IT, and then all the things Ken does:
Yep.
facilities, safety.
Yeah, yeah. And I think there's like 18 of us total in all of those portions. So that's what makes up our ESOP, and altogether we're right around 530 employees uh, in those 5 different business units. So, what is an ESOP? Well, ESOP is an acronym that stands for Employee Stock Ownership Plan. It's a retirement benefit, and it allows employees to earn beneficial ownership in the company for which they work. Simply put, that means employee owners enjoy the benefit of owning a share of the company and without paying for it, because those shares are allocated to us every year as a reward for working hard at our jobs on a daily and weekly basis. So ESOPs are private. If you're not part of our company, you cannot buy shares. Well, as employees, we can't buy shares. They're given to us or earned by us, as we like to say. But um, so once you leave the company does buy those shares back from you at the current value. And we get that value once per year. And that we usually find out what the value of our shares are in May. And that represents the previous year. So right now we know our share value, but that was really for the 2004 year, from January 1st through December 31st of 2004. So we're on that value now, and until we reach December
I think you mean
31st.
2024.
Oh, what did I
But
say?
2004.
Oh,
We're
I'm sorry,
jumping back, jumping
2024.
way back.
Yeah, no, 2024, of course. So yeah, we're always like looking at the price from 1 year behind. I'm trying to talk too fast. I'm sorry. So what's the difference between your ESOP and your 401k? So this is pretty simple. The ESOP account is an account that the company creates for you, and they put the shares into that account every year for you. You don't pay for them. And they're your shares. You have to vest, and we'll talk about the vesting part of that. But um, those are the free shares of the company. That's the value you earn by being an employee owner. Now, 401k is a company sponsored savings account where the employees themselves determine how much they want to contribute to their 401k with every paycheck. And that, usually we do it as a percentage. We'll say, take 6% or take 8% or take 10% of my paycheck, save it for me, and that goes into your 401k account. And then our company will match 50% of what you're putting in, up to a maximum of 6%. So as long as I'm putting in at least 6%, the company will match 50% of that. So they're going to put an additional 3% in. And that match actually goes into our ESOP account. It doesn't go into the 401k. So we're going to earn more shares through that match. And then the longer you're here, the more shares you're going to earn. And I'll show you the vesting schedule coming up shortly here. So we like to think of these two buckets, savings buckets, as our future savings program. And so we have our 401k. That's the company sponsored retirement account. And then we have the ESOP account. That's our employee stock ownership plan. And the way this works is just what I was saying. Employees put their own money into the 401k. They're going to determine how much they want saved, and then that money is in their account. Now this, they can control within that 401k how that money is invested, and you do that through principal.com. You can go into the Principal website, just log in, and you determine how you want those funds in there to be invested, in stocks, whether it's overseas companies or local, smaller companies, mid-size. there's all different options in there. So I always encourage everyone to get into the principal website, take a look at their 401k, determine how they want those funds invested so that they're earning as much as they can every year. And then in our ESOP account, Foliance allocates one time per year, again, no cost to employees, an amount to go into your ESOP bucket. Now, what they do is they try to target like a number like 9 or 10%. For ease of math, we're going to use 10%. And we'll do the math here in just a little while. But so one time per year, you're going to get this allocation. In those, the number of shares in your ESOP bucket never goes down. But what does happen is the value of each share gets a new value every year, and that's called the valuation period. And that's what starts on, really, it starts about January 1st and takes until about mid-May for the outside valuation company to go through our books, to look at earnings, to look at our future, to look at the culture of the company. And there's a whole bunch of factors that go into it, but that's how they determine the value. And what that value represents is if we were to sell the company, what would someone be willing to pay for the company? And that's how they determine what a share value is, what that stock is worth. So think of it as when you're going to sell your house. In order to sell your house, you have to know what the value of homes are that are the same size as yours. You're in a 3-bedroom house. They look at other 3-bedroom houses, in your area, in your block, in your town, and that's kind of how they have to do it with ESOP companies as well. They have to find similar companies and what would it be worth if we sold it today? What kind of value would we put on it? So those allocations, those stock units that go into our ESOP bucket, they become ours over a 6-year period. It's called vesting. So after 2 years of working here, everything that is in your ESOP bucket is yours to keep. Once you've worked here 3 years, 40% of what's in that ESOP bucket is yours to keep. And it just continues up until you've been here 6 years, at which point you own everything that is in your ESOP bucket. So if you're here just 1 year, unfortunately, you haven't been here long enough to keep what's in your ESOP bucket. So what can happen is if someone is here, say, for 4 years and they leave the company for whatever reason, they get to keep 60% of what's in their ESOP bucket, and the remaining 40% then gets distributed amongst all of the other employees that are still part of the ESOP. So that's another way that we earn shares in the company, is by those who leave and leave money behind in their bucket that is unvested.
I really like the vesting and just as a concept, because it almost encourages long-term employees just by the nature of how it's designed.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's a big part of it. And that 6-year period is not unique to us. That's a very, very typical vesting period for most ESOP companies. I have run into a couple that are slightly shorter than that, sometimes 3 years. But 6 years is very, very typical of an ESOP company for a vesting period. Oh, so this is the match I was talking about. When you're putting money into your 401k, the company will match 50% until you get to 6%. You can continue to contribute more to your 401k. You can put 10, 15, 20% if you'd like out of your paycheck, but the company will match 50% of that up to your 6% donation. So, or not donation, your contribution. So I tell all employees, make sure that you're at least saving 6% of your paycheck for your 401k. That way you get the full match. If you only, say, contributed 2%, they're going to match half of that, which is 1%. But then you're really just leaving free money on the table. So it's really important that employees at least max out the 6% The good thing is you always have the same number of shares in your account, and they add more every year. But uh, the harder we work and the better we do as a company, we will continue to increase the value of those shares. And it has been increasing. It's been pretty exciting. I don't know if you remember what it was when you were starting out, but
I don't, because there wasn't as much education then. It was kind of like, here's your form, here you go, and that was it. It wasn't
yeah,
celebrated
yeah,
as much like it is now. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The education that we started in like 2012, 2013, and just the sharing and the education and all of that, it's really made a huge difference for the understanding. Honestly, Sean, I worked here for 15 years. We were always an ESOP when I was here. I started in 1998. We were an ESOP back then, and it wasn't until 2012 or 2013 when I had finally understood what an ESOP was and what that money was. I had no idea how it was getting there. I didn't even realize it was given to me by the company. We would get a statement every year, and I'd look at the statement, but there was no real explanation. I understood the 401k part because, most companies have those, or not most, but a lot do. But um, I didn't know what the ESOP was. And so for 15 years, I'd look at this statement and kind of toss it in the garbage and not really think about it. So yeah, we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. I want to make sure that all employees understand what a great opportunity this is for them. And so we're also going to talk about the match. So that same employee, if they're earning $40,000 and they're putting 6% in, that means they're going to put $2,400 into their 401k every year. And then the company is going to come back and match 50% of that and give them another $1,200. And then that money actually goes into their ESOP account. So here's a couple of quick facts that are really important for all of us. I talked about at least putting 6% into your 401k. Our employees on average go above and beyond that. They're actually saving 7.5% on average. Um, so that means some people are putting more. They're putting 10% in while some might be putting 4% in. You have to get to that 6% mark in order to get the full match. So don't leave that free money behind. And this is great that we're going above and beyond. So if you think about that 7.5% that employees are putting into 401k, the company then is, putting their 50% in. So really, an employee like this would actually be getting 10.5% of their earnings saved into a retirement plan. That's fantastic. And our Foliance stock is really distributed amongst a diverse group of employees, with 94.3% of the share balance among our active participants belongs to the non-leadership employee owners. Uh, that would be people like me. I don't manage anyone. I'm not a manager. I'm not a supervisor. So that's really neat to see that us non-leadership really have a majority of the balance of the ESOP shares. So when do you become eligible to start earning the shares? Well, there's a few requirements. First, you have to be 18, which I think all of our employees are. And then here's where I was talking about when you start working here, you have to earn 1,000 hours within the plan year. The plan year always starts on January 1st and goes through December 31st, so a calendar year. So when you start here, by the time you reach mid to late June or beginning of July, you've earned your 1,000 hours, and then you get welcomed into the ESOP program. So those enrollment windows are January 1st, July 1st, and October 1st. So as long as you have your 1,000 hours in, that's when you start when you become eligible to be earn the allocations. So how do I earn shares? Well, every year that you work for the company, as long as you're here through the end of the year, you're going to earn that, and you have to put in that 1,000 hours. Even a part-time employee um, can go over that 1,000 hours. So um, yeah, so as long as you're employed on the December 31st of that year and you've worked 1,000 hours, you will get an allocation. Again, the other way you'll earn shares is by people who leave early and um, they leave some shares behind in their account that were not vested. Those will get distributed amongst all of us that are still here and working, and then of course that match. So there's three ways to get additional shares, or to get shares into your ESOP account. So this is, we've already talked about this. How do you get more shares? Well, make sure that you're putting at least 6% in. And you can see the math down here. As long as you're putting 6% in, you're going to get the full match of 50%, which is 3% in this case. But if you're only putting 5% in, the company will give you 50% of that, and they're going to put 2.5% in. And if you're putting 4% in, they're going to give you 2%. So again, make sure that you're maxing that out to at least 6, and if you can, go above and beyond that. So this is the vesting that we talked about. When are the shares yours? They're all yours after 6 years of working here. If you leave after 3 years, only 40% of what's in your ESOP bucket is yours to keep. And if you're here 4 years, you get to keep 60%. If you're here 5 years, 80%. But as long as you're here 6 years, you're going to get the full 100% of whatever's in that
It,
bucket.
is
Um,
that
yep.
years of service, like just number of years worked, or is that do you still have to hit that 1,000 hours for it to be counted as a year?
Yeah, you still have to. Yes. Good question. You still have to hit the 1,000 hours.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So if an employee retires at the normal retirement age of 65 and they've only been here a few years, they're automatically 100% vested. At that point, their accounts wouldn't be very high if they'd only been here a few years anyway, but they will have money in their ESOP account. But as long as they've reached their 65th birthday, they become 100% vested. So I mentioned this. Every year, they close the books on December 31st, and that's when an independent financial firm comes in and works with our trustee, and they go through all the books, they go through financials, they look at futures, they look at sales, investments, and they look at the culture. And that's it. It takes quite a while. You wish they could do that just in a few days, and we would learn our new share value on, January 2nd or 3rd. But that's not realistic, and it's quite a long process. So that's why we don't find out the value until May, usually, of what the share is worth the previous year. But then once you find out that value, that is our share value for that entire year. And down below, I just put some information here about it was a survey or a poll that was taken that asked people, does having an ESOP affect your culture in any way? 86.4% says yes, it has a positive effect. 7.9% said they weren't sure. 5.7% said it didn't have any effect. But as you can see, there is no negative effect up there. So being part of an ESOP is really a fantastic thing. And I know that if you go out and talk to your friends and neighbors and family members and ask them if they have an ESOP or if they know what an ESOP is. Most likely, unless they've worked for one or know someone that does, they won't know what it's about. And you can explain that it's a retirement account that the company gives us, much like the old time pensions that companies would offer. You don't hear about pension plans anymore, but it's they don't like to call it the free money, but it's what you've earned by working here. So, yes, you're not paying for it, and you have that money to take with you in the end. So every year in April, the ESOP communication team does a little contest we call the Guess the Share Value contest, where each employee owner gets to take a shot at, take one guess at what the new share value is going to be when it comes out in May. And whomever is closest to that share value, you know, no one's gotten it quite exactly right, but they've been within $1, I think, or $2 of the actual share value. Whoever's closest will actually get that amount of money added to their next paycheck. So um, I just want to encourage everyone. There's 530 or 40 of us. We should get 530 or 40 guesses every year because it's free and it takes you 10 seconds to enter a guess. So that'll come up in April of every year. The ESOP communication team will send out a quiz on that, or ask you to take your guess, and I encourage everyone to do that. So just keep in mind, we're trying to fill our ESOP buckets. Fill your 401k bucket, because you don't realize how quickly time flies, and you're saving for your family, you're saving for your future retirement, and we want to be comfortable. We don't want to be just living off of Social Security. We want to know that there's money saved for us, and it's so nice to know that even if you did nothing, even if you did not contribute to a 401k at all, which you shouldn't do, but if you didn't, the company is still going to put money in your ESOP account. They're still going to give you that that free money that that you've earned by working there. So without a lot of extra effort, it's really nice to know that that's going to be there when we retire.
And that's not even optional, right? Like the employees can't opt out of that part of it. Like you just get it here, take it.
No, no. For some reason, that's a little confusing to people, because I've had people send us an email and say, "Hey, I opted out of that ESOP a long time ago." I'm like, "No, no, no, you can't opt out. This is free money the company is giving you. You can opt out of 401k if you want. Wouldn't recommend it, but no, the company is giving that money to you no matter what. So your bucket is getting more shares. It's going to be there for when you leave the company. So nope, there's no opting out of the ESOP." So there is something that's called diversification. When you have worked here for 10 years and you've reached the age of 55, the company gives you the opportunity to diversify your shares. So, and that's the money that you have in your ESOP account. You're allowed to, over a period of 5 years, I believe it is, take 25% of what's in your ESOP account and put it into a 401k so that you can invest in different things there. It's sort of the idea of, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. So that's called diversification. The two requirements are you have to have worked here for 10 years and you have to be 55 or older. And then you can start to pull that money out and put it into a 401k. And you're not going to pay penalties, on that. So I have reached that age. I have that opportunity, and it only occurs for 5 years. And then once that 5 years are gone, you can't do any more diversification. So just you'll get a letter in the mail from principal when you've reached that point, and then you can work with the folks at Strategic Financial Services to determine how you want to diversify some of your ESOP
That must
shares.
be a hard decision because if you're contributing your 6% or whatever, you're getting your ESOP shares as well. I don't know about you, but it almost seems like the ESOP outperforms the 401k a lot of the time.
Sean, that's the dilemma I'm in. It's a really, really hard decision, and I don't know what the right choice is, because I agree our 401 or our ESOP account has been great. It goes up in big numbers. Yeah, it's a tough
Yeah.
one. You just really have to think about your future and talk to the folks at Strategic Financial Solutions, and make a decision for yourself. I don't have any advice for you, but it's tough. I'm in that boat right now. I don't know exactly what to do.
It's nice to have strategic financial as like an option of, hey, what should I do?
Yeah, they really have, and I hadn't utilized them until just this last year. I shouldn't say that. I did utilize them a little bit before that, but just this last year, and I was looking at my 401k, and it just wasn't performing well. I wasn't getting very good returns, and so I did make an appointment and talked with one of the financial advisors. We looked at history of different stocks and that, and we made changes. And thank goodness I did that, because I went from not performing very well to uh, doing much better. So and the stock market, of course, changes. On a daily,
Yeah.
weekly, monthly, yearly basis. It can go up and down. So the money in your 401k, unfortunately, can take some big dips at times, um, but also can take some nice jumps too. So make sure you get some help with that, I would say, um, because on my own I wasn't doing very well
I
with
would
it.
say at the
And
very least you should hop on and look at the options that they give you for like, I want to be more risky with my 401k or I want to be more safe, because a lot of times it by default it's not going to invest you in some of the riskier like long-term investments, and maybe you'll want that if you're young and you have a long time before you're going to retire, and you can go back and change it
yeah,
later.
right. Yes, because some of those risky ones, you can earn a lot or you can lose a lot. But if you have a lot of years, like you said, you're young. If you're in your 20s or 30s or even 40s, you might be willing to take some more risk than someone who might be in their late 50s or early 60s. So absolutely, and even though they have kind of those bundled investments put together, there's some that are set for 10 years or 20 years or whatever. Even those, I think, can be kind of conservative, where they're not going to take much risk. So it's worth your time. It's free. It's a free service because there are partners. So you can meet with a financial advisor and work through some of those things and ask those questions, and they can kind of help you evaluate, how much risk are you willing to take, or
Yeah,
how conservative
I
you
feel
want
like
to
that
be.
could be like its a whole episode by itself, pretty much.
It probably
So
should be. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So when do you get your ESOP money? Okay. So there's all kinds of things to look at here, and really, there is a summary document in ADP that everyone should look at. It's called the ESOP distribution policy. Everyone should read that. It's not a difficult read at all. But really, when you leave the company, the vested shares that are in your ESOP account are yours to keep. Now they get distributed differently depending on when you leave, how old you are, how many years you've been with the company. But um, the allocation requirements, I think I mentioned, when you reach 65, you don't have to be employed on the last day of the plan year, and you don't have to have worked 1,000 hours to get an allocation for that year. So if I left in September and I'm 65, I don't have to be employed on December 31st to get an allocation for that year, nor do I have to have reached 1,000 hours. So if I was only here until April, but I turned 65 and retired, I would still get an allocation for the year. Um, Also, if you retire early, if you're 55 and have been here for 10 years, again, you don't have to be an employee on the 31st of December, and you don't have to have worked 1,000 hours in the year um, to get that allocation. Now, when you do leave, you'll receive payments over a 5-year period. So they take the amount of money that's in your ESOP account and basically divide it into 5 equal payments, and then pay you out over 5 years. Now, what's left in your bucket, your ESOP account, does still change every year because that value will change. So whatever's left in there will get a value the following year. So they just keep doing the math, and they pay that out over the 5 years. If you leave and you're not fully vested, as I said, that unvested portion gets forfeited, and it gets reallocated amongst all the employees that are still part of the ESOP. So you'll see that on your statement that there's a small, tiny percentage of shares that were forfeited that get added to your account. So not only will you get the regular allocation, you'll get your share, or your match, but you'll also get some unallocated, not unallocated, sorry, unvested shares distributed to you as well. So this is something that we kind of do every couple of years. In October, we ask employees to send us a photo of how they see their dream retirement, knowing that you have an ESOP account and a 401k. What are some things you would like to do? How do you foresee, if you could just have your dream retirement, what would you do? And these are just some of the pictures that people have sent in. Some saying they want to ride their motorcycle across the U.S. Some say they want to lay on a beach, sipping out of a coconut, and others want to be golfing. Others want to be in a hammock up in the mountains or in a cabin. Some are just spending time with grandchildren or great-grandchildren. It's always great to see how employees dream and kind of think about their future. And it's fun. I need to update this picture. This is a small portion of our ESOP communication team. Actually, this might be the whole team. But all of us are part of the ESOP communication team, you included. And if people have questions, they can always reach out to us. If we can't answer your questions, we will go to our experts in HR and get the correct answer for them and get back to them. But this is the group that works to educate. We work to put on activities. We work to just spread the word about what it means to be an employee owner, and talk about all the great things that come along with being an employee owner in an ESOP company.
I need to get you an updated picture on there because that is a very old photo of me. It's probably 10 years
Yeah.
old.
Send it
Yeah.
over to me whenever you have time. So what does it mean to act like an owner? Well, there's all different ways to act like an owner. First of all, be good stewards of our resources, whether that's energy use or materials. We don't want to throw away a bunch of materials. I'll do a little graphic here coming up, kind of describing that. But look for ways to improve what we do. Get creative. If you've got an idea, share it. And it's always important to do things right the first time, so that as whether it's a trailer, an ambulance, or something for the newspaper, get it right the first time, so we're not having to back up and fix things down the road. This is important. Be a good ambassador with your customers, with the vendors, and with the public. Talk about employee ownership. Talk about that we are a 100% employee-owned company, because people like to do business with employee owners. They like to do business with locally owned companies, because our money stays within our communities. That wealth stays in our communities. We're not owned by a German company where all the savings or all the profits go to Germany, to someone there. They come to us, and we spend those in our communities and, within our state and with our country. So, be just great ambassadors. Talk about what it means to you. All of my family and friends know that I'm an employee owner. I talk about it all the time. So, maintain good communications, and that's between your coworkers and your managers and your customers. Look out for one another, help each other, ask for help when you need it. If you're falling behind, if there's someone that can jump in to help you get caught up, It's greatly appreciated, and it's going to help our bottom line in the end. And one that Ken is pretty passionate about, Ken White, safety. Prevent a problem before they happen. Focus on safety, because anytime there's an injury, that hurts us. It hurts our bottom line. It hurts the profit that'll be shared at the end of the year. So look out for one another. Be careful with our equipment, and yeah. So let me talk about one example here. And I always ask when we're doing an ESOP 101, when you're selling items, whether it's an ambulance or a trailer or a newspaper ad, what percentage of whatever you're selling, your product, is profit? In other words, for every dollar that comes in from a sale, how much of that do you think is pure profit? What would you guess?
I think it has to be under 10-15%, maybe even less than that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of people will guess 50% or 40%. Well, unless you are a bank or something, I don't really know companies that make 50% profit on anything, or 40%. Uh, the average profit is 5%, 5 cents per dollar. That's kind of across the country in production, and you name it, because you have to, out of that dollar, you have to pay for wages, you have to pay for insurance, you have to pay for expenses, you have to pay for utilities. Um, so really, for every dollar that you sell, only 5 cents is profit, is what we call profit. Now, in each of our business units, it might not be exactly 5 cents. It might be a little higher than that. It could be a little bit lower. So that's just kind of an average. Um, but when you think about that, it kind of puts some things into perspective, because if you took, and I'm going to use an item that's a $400 item that I'm scrapping. Maybe it's a sheet of aluminum and I cut it wrong, and I'm going to throw it on the floor into the scrap heap. If it's $400 to buy another sheet, at 5 cents per dollar that comes in, I actually have to make $8,000 worth of sales now to make up for that $400 sheet of aluminum I just threw on the floor. Um, and that's kind of eye opening. And it's not just aluminum that gets trashed. It can be a laptop computer that gets dropped and busted, and that's a $1,200 laptop computer. And you just think, all right, multiply this by three. Now it's going to take what, $24,000 in sales to make up for the laptop that I just smashed on the ground. So there's lots of ways to look at this. Whether it's it's take care of that scrap. Try not to scrap things. Measure twice, cut once, right?
Yeah, and make sure everyone else
So
is doing that too. Like, you don't just need to keep your head down doing your own work. You need to look around and make sure you can help someone else do something better.
absolutely. Yep. You got it. So Sean, are there any questions or any things that I did not cover?
No, I think you did a great job as always.
Oh, thanks. It's a passion of mine to make sure that we're all hearing the same message, make sure we're all educated on what it means to be an employee owner, and how the ESOP works and how your 401k works, and just talking about taking care of it and owning it, and being the best employees that we can, because it makes a huge difference. And as you have like at first when you're in your 20s, who cares, right? It just feels like retirement is so far off in the future. And you hear people say, I want to retire a millionaire, but okay, what are you doing to get there? If you're not actively saving into a 401k, or you're not really investing, how are you going to get there? So this ESOP account, that it's just money that the company is putting in, that's, you don't even have to think about that. They're just doing it for you. It's pretty amazing. And talk to your friends and family and ask them if their company does something like that for them. Are they putting money aside for them uh, without them contributing? It's, you're going to find a lot of heck no. I
Yeah,
wish.
I
So
think it's important to educate people about this, because it kind of becomes more and more exciting the longer you're here because of compounding interest, and you're closer to retirement, and being that hitting that millionaire mark, I think, comes pretty quick at the end. But at the beginning, when you're just starting, it's like just slowly incrementing up.
Yeah, you have to be patient. But it does build. And if you've been here for 5 years, 10 years, you start to really see that adding up into your ESOP account. I've been here for 27 years. You've been here for at least
Yeah,
15,
15.
right? Yeah, yeah. You really start to see it, and it gets
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I think it's probably exciting for people when their ESOP balance jumps above their 401k. Like, and then it just keeps growing and growing, and that difference becomes more and more.
Yeah, I mention that all the time too. I just think back. I've always given or contributed at least 6% to my 401k, and I think at times I've been up to 15%. Contributing, and I just feel like I'm plowing money into that account all the time. And I look at my ESOP account and go, man, there's more money in that than there is in my 401k, and I didn't do anything. I mean, I didn't put any of my money into that. It's
Right.
incredible. It just, the work we put in, it's our time, it's our sweat equity that we, add to the company, that they're putting that money there for us. So yeah, to see it go above your 401k is super exciting.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully, this is helpful to someone, a new employee, or just a refresher of this information down the line. Yeah, if you have
Yeah.
questions about any of the info here or just in general, you can reach out to the communication team, Todd or me or anyone else on that list before. Um, Anything else, Todd, before we go?
Go ESOP is something I always say, but no, I can't think of anything else. I'm always open for questions. If people have questions, contact me, send me an email or text or whatever.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for listening to ESOPOD. If you want to get in touch, send me an email at esopod@foliance.com.